What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode in the Unleashed Potential podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Haji, alongside Mr. Hassan. And today we've got Nejima Gabose. I said it right, yes?
Yes, you did.
A lot of people, I think, get the Nejima and Nejma mixed up. Is that?
I have two names. Depends who's saying it.
Okay. Well, we'll use Nejima today. We've got Nejima today with us as our first live guest at Unleashed Potential podcast. Today we'll be discussing a bit about Nejima, your careers, business aspirations. For those of you know, for those who know, you know. But hopefully the rest of our viewers get a bit of an insight into your life. Take it away. Introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself first.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Nejima Gabose. I am based in Perth. I think they know that.
How long have you lived here now?
8 years, Hatta Wallah. That's crazy. It's been 8 years.
And previously?
8 years. I thought it was shorter than
in the
that.
whole of Australia or just Perth?
No, just in Perth.
Just
in Perth.
And before that was?
New Zealand. So originally.
So 8 years in the whole of Australia. That's crazy. When did you arrive?
2012.
When did you get here?
2012. That's crazy.
What month?
Yeah.
Do you guys remember?
June, I think it was.
I think ours was like January.
Ah, fair enough.
Wow.
I thought you were local, like.
No, Wallah?
Yeah, since years.
Oh, what are you serious?
I knew you were from New Zealand, but I didn't know how long you...
No, originally from Wellington.
Okay.
No, I know you're from New Zealand as well. But I thought you would have moved here like a really long time ago.
No.
Ah.
Same year. Who knew?
How am I finding this out now?
I'm shocked myself too.
Come on.
Yeah, go on.
I don't know. What else could I tell you?
Based in Perth, New Zealand. Way before that, where were you born? Let's start from there.
Oh my God, it's complicated. I was born in Abdullahi, but that doesn't exist in the map, so it's Ethiopia.
Okay.
Right? Because Ethiopia is like
colonizing
that little, so it's like I'm from Ethiopia, but really.
So you're Ethiopian then?
No, but I'm not Ethiopian.
By birth. Yeah. So
okay.
In a sense, yes, you would be right if you classified her as Ethiopian.
Yeah, my passport says Ethiopian, but I can't put Qabdahar in there because the word doesn't recognize Qabdahar.
Okay.
So yeah.
So Somali born in Ethiopia, raised in New Zealand.
Yeah, New Zealand.
That now lives in Perth. Why is it everybody that comes from New Zealand's got like some complex background? You were born in Sudan. Well, you're Ethiopian.
Well, what's wrong with complex?
Well, just
keep it simple, man.
No.
Born in Somalia, raised in Australia, lived here ever since. Mine, done in 2 seconds.
We like to move around.
Yes, we're very interesting people.
It's a good thing.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, it's a good thing.
So how's growing up in New Zealand? I actually haven't asked you this either, so it's a good question. It's a good question for both of you guys. Growing up in New Zealand versus now, like in Australia, like where we live here. If you were to grow up in here back then, do you think it would be very different?
Absolutely.
In what sense? For each of you guys.
Do you
want to go?
I don't have a problem. Look, New Zealand for me was different because, I mean, obviously I'm in 2 different phases of my life, you know? I'm living here as an adult, living here as a husband, a father, all of these different things. So I view the world differently to when I used to view it when I was younger.
Okay.
You know? But I still think the environment there made education a lot more easier. You found time to actually educate, and even then there wasn't much distraction, so you couldn't even go and start work after school.
After high school.
As
opposed to here where...
So everybody just defaulted to, going to uni.
Yeah.
So it kind of like fostered that environment of education, and it made it a little bit easier. At least that's what I thought. And I think if I lived here, I don't know if I would have been the same person. I think most likely I would be a little bit different.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I agree with you, because back in New Zealand, Wallahi, there was not much distractions at all. And I think, the culture is quite different there to Australia. People had from a very young age, they kind of knew what they wanted to do, and they were very matured and focused.
Yeah.
And over here, I think you find someone who's like in high school, almost about to finish, and they've got no idea what they want to do, or like dropped out from school. But I feel like in New Zealand, it just humbled you to get your shit together at a very early age.
Yeah. It's a close-knit community too.
But
everybody knows everyone.
Is that because of the lack of opportunities Or do you think it's because people there are generally a bit more focused? Like,
I don't think it's a focus thing.
No.
I think it is lack of opportunities, and that's why you find a lot of New Zealanders traveling over
Traveling back
to Australia, you know, for those opportunities.
Yeah.
But there's
but
a
it
lot
does
of
put you at a good state where you get your education out of the way when you're young.
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. And
Did you finish uni? Sorry to cut you off.
no, go ahead.
Did you finish uni back in New Zealand or here?
It was quite. No, I didn't finish, and I finished my studies in here because I looked at the opportunity for me once I did finish my studies, and I was the one that initiated the move from New Zealand to Australia. I think at that period, a lot of people were moving from New Zealand to Australia. I remember having a conversation with my mum. I was like, "Hoyo, listen, there really isn't much jobs for me by the time I graduate, and this is like me doing my first year of my degree." And she was like, "Well, hey, get the tickets, sort all that out, and enroll yourself to university. And if you can do all the stuff, then okay, I'll pack my bags." And I think at that time, Mum had 5 kids, 5 really young kids, and then me and my other sisters were like 7 people.
Yeah.
So I remember having to work so hard in order to save money for tickets for the whole family, and then find a university that would accept me with the units I've done and transfer it. And then by the time I got all that sorted out, I was like, "Okay, Mum, let's go." And I remember her saying, "Hey, yeah, let's go." And I was like, "What, really?" But I think she gave me things that was impossible. She didn't think I was going to do that. But I looked at the opportunity that I had, and I knew there was nothing.
The pre-test to see if you
I would commit.
if you would commit and survive.
If you're
somewhere
disciplined
else.
enough,
Fair enough.
that makes sense.
And was Perth the first choice?
No, that was Mom's choice.
Okay, because did you
didn't
guys
like
have
any-
family here?
No, we didn't have any family here. We had a close family friend that was living in Perth, and Hoya kind of reached out to us, said, "Hey, look, we're about to move. Like, can we stay with you?" And I think she facilitated that, and she's like, "Yeah, you can stay with us until you find a home." But Mom picked Perth because it was I think for her, when she did her research, she was like, Perth is a place where I can raise the young kids and not for them to get distracted. And at that time, I think Melbourne was a no, and I think it was either Melbourne or Perth that people moved into, and she looked at Melbourne, she's like, absolutely not. And then it was Perth. It was like, in a way, moving from New Zealand, it was like moving to another New Zealand
Exactly,
in Perth.
yeah, exactly. A lot of people ask me what Perth is like, and I always say, "Have you been to New Zealand?"
Oh my god!
Because if they have, then I'll tell them that it's
the same.
exactly the same thing, just with
Different.
better opportunities.
No,
That's
fair enough. So what have you studied?
I studied a Bachelor of Science and became a registered nurse.
Okay,
So,
and how did you get into that path? So take us through that high school until post-graduation.
Okay, well, my story is a bit interesting because I knew what I wanted.
Yeah.
But at that age, I was so young, I didn't know how I was going to get there.
Yeah.
And nursing wasn't like the main one that I wanted to.
Yeah.
So my mom was pretty much like, pick a career that's like health related from the bat. She's like, it has to be, it has
Doctor,
to be. Yeah, she said,
pharmacy.
anything. She said it has to be health related. And I'm thinking, okay. But then if I looked at the subject that I really liked, it was art. Like,
Wow.
I loved art. So I was like, I want to do something related in art, but I don't know what it was. I couldn't, at that age, identify what that would be. And then here's my mom saying, you have to study something that has to be related in health. And for me, wallahi, I try to listen to my mom because she knows what's best. But then again, I was that type of person that wanted to do what I wanted to do. So I told my mom, yeah, sure, I'll do it. But in the back of my head, I was like, no way, I'm not doing anything to do with science. Like, what is that? But I told my mom, yeah, sure, Hoyo. But then with my mom, she would tell you to do something. And if you tell her, no, I'm not doing that, you need to have an alternative. Yeah. And you have to pretty much map it out.
Backup plan.
Yeah, you have to map and say, okay, well, I'll do this and this is how we'll get. And when I finish, this is what I'm going to do. So I didn't have that. I only knew that I liked art. So I kept the mouth shut for a while. And then I think I was doing my NCA level 3. And that's like the last stage.
So you're 12 for Australians.
Yeah. And then I got sick. I was in the hospital, and actually it was earlier than that. I was in the hospital, And then I had, these nurses looking after me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, wow, this is pretty strange because I've never had someone that's not related to me looking after me.
Yeah.
And the compassion they showed me and the care they showed me, I'm like, oh, wow, this is really unique. This is really interesting. So then I was like, okay, well, let me go back and see how I could do nursing. So that kind of started for me to get into nursing.
Yeah.
I was like, it's nice. I'm giving back to the community. To get a job in the nursing field was something very achievable.
Yeah.
In terms of opportunity compared to other jobs.
Yeah.
In the market. So then I was like, okay, so until I know what I want to do in terms of art, I'm just gonna do nursing.
Go with the process.
Yeah. I was like, there's no point of finding my mom because I think back in that days there was no one that I identified that was doing anything remotely related to in the creative aspect. So I put that on pause and just did my nursing degree.
I bet your mom was happy when you told her you were studying.
Yeah, she was happy. She's like, oh, well done. But for her, she thought I was definitely in. I didn't, tell her my thought process and what I was going through. So from the get-go, she was like, yeah, she's definitely going to do something in science. So she didn't really knew what was going to happen later on eventually.
What the original plan was,
Yeah.
I'm interested. Did you find it difficult to talk to your mom? Because I know, like me, growing up, like just discussing any career plans with my parents, I just felt like they couldn't relate. So I sort of avoided that whole discussion. Was it the same for you?
Yeah, it was the same for me because, my mom was a single mom and she had a lot, we've got like, I'm the oldest of like 9 kids. So I was, the role model for them. So I wanted not to bring stress to her that she doesn't necessarily need to deal with. And just like, I was like, at the end of the day, she wants what's best for you. And it's like, until I know what I want, and then, at the end of the day, I don't know what I wanted. And I was like, okay, let me just follow this pathway that, my mom has already planned for me.
Yeah.
In terms of being, studying something to do, in science. So, I wouldn't have conversation with her in terms of what my passion, like even when I eventually got into what I'm doing now, I never really told her until I had my plan. So, yeah.
Fair enough.
Oh.
So you finished your studies when you came here.
Yep.
Right. And then after however long you get hired, you start working as a nurse, right?
Yep.
Is it as you expected it would be? Did it turn out better or worse? Because you had that picture, right? Nurses looking after me.
Yeah.
Like it's so fulfilling, all these things, right? Now that you're actually in the workforce, do you still get that same feeling? Not on a day-to-day basis, but like as a generic version.
Well, like I was briefly saying to you before, like when you grow up in New Zealand, you kind of focused on what you want to do.
Yeah.
And we kind of, at a young age, we know what we want to do. So when it was like, okay, I'm going to commit to nursing, I was fully focused on it, right? So I didn't really think more about the expectations and like what I would be and how it would be. I didn't really think of it. I was like, oh crap, I need to buckle down. I need to get because I was failing in science at that time because I was focusing on my arts. I was actually failing in science at that time. I was like,
that's a key subject.
When you the health and science
that's
sector,
a huge red flag. Like,
But the thing was, I was just more focused on drawing my paintings. And I remember one time I was at home, I was doing my painting for my art project, and it was like naked photos at that point because the artist I had was Edward Hopper, and Hoy walked in and was like, what the hell's these naked photos? I'm like, Mum, this is art, you don't understand. And she was just laughing at me. But coming back, I just lost my train of thought.
No,
your expectations.
Yeah. So you're focused rather than looking at the.
Yeah. So then I was more focused on my art, and then eventually I realized if I want to do nursing, I need to really get my grades up for in my science. So that's when I was like, I knew what I was going to do, so I focused and got my grades up in science, and then and I was just more focused on like, okay, so university. After university comes nursing, so I didn't really even understand or even had the time to process what it would be like to be a nurse once I did start. The negative, the goods. I didn't really have that time to just process it because it was like my last year at high school, I'm failing science, and it's like, oh my god, I was like, I'm gonna fail. I need to get my shit together. So, and then after that, university started, and I don't think I was prepared for university at all, especially science, because it's full on, and I remember struggling so badly. And then my focus was just to finish university. Yeah. And then
just get hired and continue working.
Yeah, get hired. You know, I had that whole plan. So I didn't really even understood, you know, what was involved in being a nurse until I got in, and I'm like, crap.
So now looking back, how long have you been working as a nurse now?
5 years.
So now looking back, the last 5 years, has it been fulfilling as you would think, or is it just still in that blurred rush?
No. It has been fulfilling. Like truly, I had a really good opportunity to get into so many fields that I didn't even thought about. From the get-go, I was like, oh, I'm going to do emergency and surgical and medical, and then mental health just came out of nowhere, and I started specializing in mental health. Wow. And I was like, crap. So I really did, got exposed to things that I didn't even think about.
Different aspects. MashaAllah. So now if we move along with the train of thoughts. Yeah. You put your artistic and creative side on hold. You made mom happy. You went through the science field, health-related field, working as a nurse. Yeah. Now, alhamdulillah, you've successfully got 2 businesses running. Mm-hmm. At what point did that urge or that creative side take over and say, you know what, I'm going to it's time.
Switch lanes.
Mom is happy now. I've got my degree. I'm working, alhamdulillah, I got a stable job. What got that motivation back where you said, you know what, it's time to follow that creative side and pursue? Because you didn't get into a business where it's like, I'm just selling goods. And you'll explain to us a little bit about your business in detail. But for us, that you're not selling goods. Exactly. So how did you firstly decide now is the right time to pursue it? And finding the 2 current businesses that you have and the inspirations that led to it. Okay,
so the first time that I even remotely thought about my creative side, because I told you at the beginning I should put that on pause. Like it's always something that I really truly love, but I just put it on pause. And with my mom, she's always said, you have to finish your studies, right? So I never got to travel at all. So that was something my mom was like, you have to get married, have a mahram, and then travel. And I'm like, sure. And then she's like, you have to finish your studies, and that's the only time you can travel. So in a way, she knew traveling was never going to happen for me. Because the moment I finished my studies, I started my grad program. Work started. So it was hard for me to get leave. Right. So I don't know if we have time to get into that, but I ended up traveling to America. I was let go from my grad program. That was the first time I ever got fired. It was so crazy. And I think at that time it was Ramadan, and I called my friend. I was like, meet me. So she came and met me at the beach. That's the place I would go to every time I'm dealing with something. So I went to the beach. She came. We ordered pizza. We haven't iftared at the beach. And I said, I got fired. I'm like, my life is over. I failed.
Do you remember the first time you got fired?
I don't think I've ever been fired. Redundant was probably only one time.
Have you got fired?
I remember the first time.
I've never been fired.
The first time you ever got fired. How did you feel?
I've only got fired once.
It's not a good feeling.
Let's just say it was pretty colourful. It was.
What, you deserved it? Is that what you say?
I didn't deserve it, but my reaction was just
not good.
Not proportionate to the situation.
Okay,
but that's not the topic we're talking about today.
No, of course.
But go on.
It's good to know somebody else.
I know what it's like to be fired.
But the thing is, everything happens for a reason. Because I remember, because I specialize, I requested to specialize in mental health. And that was something that was new to me. And at the time, I thought I would love it, but it turns out 6 months into it, I wasn't, and it was showing through my work. So my supervisor at the time was like, Nejima, like, we're not going to renew your contract. Kind of like it's done. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, okay. And she's like, do you want to finish the day or do you want to leave? I'm like, I'll leave,
Yeah, of course. Who would stay?
I was like, I'm like, what do you mean stay? I'm like,
I don't know why they asked that anyway, like...
Finish, do you want to finish?
Of course, there has to be a last day, but still, like
no, but like if they call you up at midday to fight and your shift is at 5.
Yeah.
It's like, why am I going to stay another 3 hours at a
just
place that knows?
dock my
Literally,
pay.
it was 3
I'm
hours
good.
left. I'm like, why didn't you tell me at the beginning of my shift?
Yeah.
Why did you wait until halfway?
Yeah.
You know. But anyways, I was like, no. I was like, I would like to leave. So I left. Went to the beach, called my close friend that time. I was like, look, my life is so if this has happened. And I remember just crying. I don't know, like I just felt like that was the end of my life because here I am, worked, you know, to get it to this, you know, to this, and then or for all to fall apart. But then again, like part of me knew that I didn't want to be in here, but I was just stuck, just going through the whole motion of it. And I was like telling myself, you know, get back to, you know, medical, but I just never did it. You just, a day comes, you just continue with the motion. So anyways, then I told my mom what happened, and she was like, you know, okay, everything happens for a reason. You have money, you should go travel now.
So is your mom the person that you come back to?
Yeah, so I saw my friend, and after that I went home and I told my mom what happened. And she goes, she was kind of relieved that I left that place because she didn't like mental health because, you know, it was a very dangerous, like it's very aggressive. You deal with aggressive patients. So
imagine.
Yeah, she didn't even want me to be in that area. So for her, it was quite a relief. She's like, oh, this is fine, you know, then if you're going to find a job and it wasn't meant for you. So why are you upset?
Yeah.
Because I remember crying to her and I'm like, I don't know why I'm upset, Mom. I just failed. And she goes, no. She's like, go travel. So she's like, I went to America to visit her sister. And I went to Minneapolis, central Somalia, pretty much little Somalia.
Okay.
And I was exposed to things that I wasn't exposed to. I saw people that I can identify that were doing so much in terms of in business and in career and excelling so well. And then when you compare it to Perth,
non-existent.
Yeah.
To a certain degree.
To a certain degree, right?
Yeah.
It was like, because to be honest, if you reflect on it, people in Perth are living really comfortable.
Yeah.
Oh,
right?
Even
moving at a slower pace.
Even with the rest of Australia, like
moving at a slower
pace.
Sydney,
and as opposed to compared to Perth now, it's much more cruisier here.
It's very cruisy. You just have to think about your 9 to 5, and even then you complain like, "Oh my god, I had a hard day." It's, you know, today was a long day. But in fact, when you look at it, people working 12 hours, and then they still have time to do their side hustle. Yeah. And I was like, wow, who are these people? I'm just looking at them. I'm like, what the hell? What is this?
No, but see, in defense of
mean?
Perth right now, I think it's also to do with the quality of life that we live here in Australia as well. Like, we work 9 to 5.
Yeah.
But you live in a nice house, alhamdulillah. You drive an alright car, you know.
Yes.
You've got good food. You've got a nice city, nice, you know, everything's nice and clean. Whereas in America, like, you could be living in the hood. You could be living in areas where it's like, you know, less than average, and that's where I think a lot of the hustle comes from, like trying to get out of it. Whereas Perth is like, okay, besides major ambition goes into making X amount of money, there's nothing we're trying to get out of.
So you're saying we've got a safety net?
We've
got a safety net here in Australia compared to
the general public right now. In Australia, there's nothing that they're really trying to get out of. There's no bad neighborhood they're trying to get out of. There's you know, like I'm living in
living comfortable.
You're living comfortable. Your family's safe. Your kids are safe. Your school's affordable. You know, higher education is affordable. So like,
there's no challenges.
So exactly. So the quality of life doesn't really push everybody to be on that level. So that's for my Perth people that might have taken a bit of offense to us calling them
lazy.
Pretty much. But go on. So,
but it's the environment you're exposed to, isn't it? So marka these people that are like excelling so well, like they had clinics that are run by all Somali people, Oromos, Ethiopians. Like there was not much Adan people in there. And these are like high professional, you know,
corporate levels.
Yeah, and it's like, what are you? And there's a whole mall that's called Somali Mall that's just all like ethnic people that, you know, run.
I would love to go visit a place like that.
Have you been to America?
I don't think I'll go to America. It'll probably be the last place I'll go to.
It's for a holiday. It's not high on the list, but I would actually want to go see it now that I'm hearing this.
Wallahi, it changed. Like, you know, people always say when you travel, you come back with a new perspective in life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I was there for 4 months, and then because I was like, I've got no job to come back to, so I was there for 4 months. I think I'm like pretty much banned to go back to America because I didn't even know my visa was like limited to like 90 days. So
illegal citizen for.
You're overstaying. In
Overstaying,
the worst
I didn't
country
even
to
know.
overstay in.
Wow.
so bad.
Yeah.
But
You're banned now.
I think so. Well, I have to apply for an actual visa instead of the waiver one because you apply for a waiver.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so now I actually have to go to the embassy and apply for an actual visa and pay like a great deal amount of money. But yeah, so I think being exposed to that environment was
Spark something.
It really did. Like the whole creative aspect. I met like to this day we're still close friends. I met some bunch of girls that were doing so well, and like to this day we always keep in touch. And so when I did come back to Perth, I was completely different. I remember like when I was in Perth, I would just like do my 9 to 5 and then road trips. Like I would plan pleasure. Like that was it. Like whatever time I had was just like road trips. Like literally that's all I wanted to do. There was nothing beyond.
Yeah.
So when I did come back, I remember I wanted to do something. I don't know what it was. I knew it was something to do with clothing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, but I don't know exactly what. And then one of my close friends, your wife, Amira, she just traveled to Dubai at that time. And I think she was getting ready for the wedding. And she was in Dubai doing, shopping for her wedding. And then we met at Hillary's. I've got so many memories at Hillary's. So we met at Hillary's to catch up. And I was like we'll just catch them because I was traveling. I was going for 4 months and she came back from Dubai and she was like, Nejima, let's do a business together in clothing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Why are you having this conversation with me? I was literally thinking of doing something related to, fashion. Yeah. And that conversation pretty much led to Sabrina's Window.
Yeah. And for those who don't know Sabrina's Window, now's your chance to.
Yeah, so Sabrina's Window is a clothing brand that specializes in modest evening gowns and pretty much anything, casual, even like just pretty much specialized in modest evening gowns because me and Amira at that time, because I think she was having difficulties in finding modest evening gowns, close to her occasion. And that was the lack that we had in Perth. There's literally nothing that's fashionable, that is trendy, that we could wear all our evening, like anything remotely that's evening gowns, we would, buy from overseas, America, UK. And because of that, at that time, both our ideas were aligned. And that's what Sabrina Window is.
Okay, and so that was the first business.
That was the first business.
So explain to me how you go from a full-time job with one business that's just started and growing, to opening up a second one.
Oh my God!
Where's the jump and what made that bring that about? One? Yeah.
Okay. Well, the second one, it was also at the same time. At Amira's and Emma's wedding. Oh my God, your wedding was, oh my God.
you're out here getting married, going through one part of life. And
indirectly sparking businesses.
It was your wedding.
I want my loyalties check, yeah?
It's coming, don't worry. So I remember, her close mates, we were all organizing the bridal shower and the wedding. And Amira was hopeless. She was like, I don't want anything. There was a bit of like weddings are like really crazy. She didn't want anything, and like her parents and we wanted something for her. So, anyways, I was working with Furana, who's my business partner, because we're all friends, and we were organizing the bridal shower and the wedding, and I remember people like reacting so well to what we did, saying, "Oh my gosh, it's really amazing," because we pretty much like did the whole planning, the whole decoration. Some of them were like DIY. The bridal shower was like an outdoor one, and I don't think much people were doing it at that time. Like an outdoor bridal shower, and like just the response was just overwhelming. And I'm like, oh wow! And I'm like, this is interesting. This is a really. And then Furana was very good in terms of planning for that event, and I was like, Furana. So I was like, without me knowing, I think I was planning.
To get into
it without me even like realizing it. So, and then I was like, I think after the wedding passed, I had a month of just reflecting because the wedding was stressful. It was a very stressful time.
I remember.
Do you remember?
I remember.
So I had a whole, like, I was reflecting. I was like, okay, Nejima, you can't start another event. I wanted to do event planning, but I was like, you can't. You need to focus on Sabrina's Window. So after a year of Sabrina's Window, like, at least, being established, I was like, I approached Furqana. I was like, she has to be my business partner. I can't do this alone.
Yeah.
And Furqana had no idea what the hell was going on. So I brought her to, I think, Hillary's.
Yep.
Oh my God.
We're making full circle.
We should
It's a full circle.
Hillary's
Yeah.
to get all these business ideas.
I love
I
it.
swear to God. I remember going to Hillary's and we were at Little Caesar and I told her, look, I know you don't want this, but I know you're gonna want this. And Furqana, she doesn't like to do with people. If you can avoid people and event planning, it's literally
based on people.
Yeah.
it's based on people. So I was like, look, I will do this part and you will do this part, and try to balance things out, and for you to do things you're comfortable with, and I'll do things that I'm comfortable with. So we got to the agreement. She's like, okay, I'm on board. I kind of sold. I was like, I have this proposal, so I sold it to her, and she was like, on board. And then I was like, okay, it's time for G&M, which is our event planning, to be born, and that's how it started 2 years ago.
MashaAllah.
What does G&M stand for?
It stands for Gabose, which is my surname, and Musa, Furqana Musa.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah.
Did you feel like you had enough time on your plate to
No.
take on board? So you just saw the opportunity and you said,
Opportunity, yeah.
I need to be the
Finding-
one to
finding a
fill it.
demand
I
and
don't
trying to
care how.
supply.
Yeah, I don't know. I was like, I don't care how. I wanted to start earlier, but I was like, no. Realistically, I can't. We need to save up first of all. Financially, we couldn't just start it right at the bat. And I was like, I need to do a bit of work before I can start this. But I knew I had no time. But I was like, dude, being exposed to what the Americans were doing, I was like, there's no excuse of saying I don't have time. You will make time. So it was like me losing more, sleep, me sacrificing, anything remotely to do with pleasure. Road trips was like, I don't even know when last time I went for a road trip. So it was like.
And prior to this trip that you went to, how often would you go on a road trip?
Well, like every other weekend, every other weekend I would go somewhere. Like I would have 3 days off work, stack up my work 6 days in a row, and then have 3 days off just to go for road trips.
Wow. And now you can't remember
No,
the last time.
I can't remember.
Wow.
It's interesting, isn't it?
So now the question, I think, to follow up with yours, that everybody's asking, and everybody that knows you or sees your Instagram accounts, your stories, and because I think you've also added YouTube.
Oh yeah.
You've got YouTube. Recently, I was seeing on Instagram, like, you've got all these random videos where you
IGTV videos,
where it's just so many different things, right?
Yeah.
And in between all these other things you're doing, so the question that everybody's asking is, how do you keep up? How do you physically, mentally prepare to keep up? Like, what is a day in Nejima's life like? And especially in that morning part, you wake up. How do you find the motivation to go through a day that's fully packed like that?
Oh wow. I think it all comes down to your goals, and your why. Like, it all comes back to why am I doing this, and that is to meet the vision I have, the lifestyle that I want for myself. So in order to get that, I need to do everything I can while I'm still young, while I'm still healthy, to put in all that work. So, like, in terms of YouTube, I remember I was like, crap, I have to do YouTube now. And I'm thinking, where are you going to find the time? It's a lot of, I'm sure you guys do the editing for your podcast. It's a lot of work when with editing.
Absolutely.
But I remember I was like, well, if you want the business to succeed and for it to reach a certain level, you need to do videos, because videos at the end of the day are a good tool in marketing and exposing your work. And I remember every time some of the videos I've done, it literally exposed to people that I now work with that have built my network. So it's like these, I remember one day I was starting my shift at the hospital, and I had a video to put up, and I literally had to I was locked myself in the bathroom to put up and edit that video for it to be published.
While on shift.
While on shift. I feel so sorry for my work, but I, every second that I can get on my break at work, I will do something. I will be responding to emails, packing something, every minute that I get, I would literally.
So you don't actually plan your day specifically. It's just you make sure you use your time wisely.
Yeah. One day I might wake up like, okay, do a video today. It's just like I know that I need to want something, and it's just like whatever the day it is like.
Yeah.
Whatever needs to be done, do it. So it's not like a.
From what I gather from what you told me, I think a lot of people don't see what goes on behind work. Like you could be sitting eating and putting up a video, right?
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people might think, okay, when they look at how does this person have all that time, they think that this person freed up X amount of time for this only.
Yeah.
Whereas you could literally be
multitasking
3-4 different things, which is crazy.
I know a few people that will be like, Nejima, how do you, like, you're active on social media, why have you not replied to this, why you know, and I'm like, dude, I literally just have time to post this, and then after that I'm literally out. Like I'm not literally on my phone, like I'm posting, I'm active, and I have to be active, but wallahi, you see messages, people are thinking that I'm ignoring them because I haven't opened it, and it's not because I'm ignoring you, it's the fact that I might be active. The moment that I put this post up, I've left. I've moved on to what I'm actually meant to be doing.
I remember actually my cousin in Sydney. I remember actually sort of telling her off because whenever you see her, she's got her phone in her hands.
Yeah.
Right. But you call or message, you don't get a response.
No.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm just like, for a person that has their phone with them at all times, how do you not respond? And I think that's the image that people see outside here, that you're on your phone or on devices, and that you're not getting back to them, but you're doing all these other things where everybody's wondering what you're trying to do. Yeah. We'll move on to a little other part. I haven't named it or anything.
Just a different segment.
Yeah, just a different segment, I guess.
Sure.
You've put up Instagram video question leading up to this episode, and hopefully some of the viewers listening to this will have their questions answered.
Yes. I wanted my Instagram family to be part of this.
I'll pass it on to you. Pick random questions and fire them away.
Okay, so you've already answered a couple of them.
Oh, that's good.
But what advice would you give to someone when starting a business or choosing a career? Now, that's an interesting question because I think obviously you've dived into both. But yeah, what advice would you give them? Yeah, head first. That's right.
Okay, so in career-wise, I think sometimes look at what you're good at, and hopefully it aligns with what you like. But in reality, sometimes you might have to put what you really want for what's realistic in terms of what's going to pay the bills, what's secure. And I think nowadays there's a luxury in terms of doing whatever you want because there's a lot of opportunities. And so yeah, I think if you're like a university student, not a university, high school student, there's career expos that you could speak to, and they can kind of guide you what's best for you. But I think ultimately just look at what you want, I guess, and what you're good at, and what you and hopefully it aligns with what you are passionate about.
Yeah, that's. Do you want to add anything to that?
Really
That's all good. If anything, don't overthink it.
Just do it.
Yeah. Worst case scenario, you end up with a degree, which you can always fall back on later on.
Or a business.
Or a business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And even if it fails, you've learned something.
Exactly. No, but then to truly know what you like as well, you got to try it out.
That's the hard part.
You know what I mean? To truly know if you like it, because you might see somebody that's balling and everything. You're like, oh, his job's cruising easy, but you have no idea.
Yes.
Like, this person probably gets 3 hours of sleep every night, and you don't want that. You want 8 hours sleep every night.
You want your 8 hours sleep,
So try it out. Try it out. If it's not for you, you can always change.
Definitely, yeah.
Fair enough. I think this one has been answered. So how do you stay focused on top of the things? Like, where did the drive and passion come from? I'll probably, because you've sort of touched on it. You've touched on it. But what I would say is, like, how do you make sure that you don't like drop the ball on everything? I mean, when you have work, right?
Yeah.
And you've got 2 businesses, and you've got, this YouTube thing.
Yeah.
How do you make sure that it's not so much stay on top of it, but that you're not losing on all fronts, or at least on one of them, and not neglecting one? Or do you sort of touch on one every single day? Do you what's your system? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, like that one's something that I'm still figuring it out, and I think most people think I have it all figured out. Well, I do not, and I think it just comes to what's I just look at it as in like what's urgent right now at the moment, because I wish I had more time, and if I did, like there's so much that I would have been doing for my career. I think in terms of my career, like I was struggling at one point, and I had a meltdown actually, and I needed a break because work was so demanding, because I was transitioning from one role to another one that was very demanding, and then work, especially G&M at that time, was just like really, really demanding. And Sabrine's window at that time, we had a launch, you guys came, and that was all happening at the same time. And I just remember thinking, oh my God, I've kind of like took a big bite that I cannot handle. And I had a conversation with Amira, who was like, Nejima, you can't give 10% here and 20% here and 50% here. You're gonna burn out, and also they're not all gonna succeed, And with me, it took me a while to take. She told me that advice a while back. I don't even go off topic, but with me, if you give me advice, I would literally embody it and do it. But it took me a while to take that advice and implement it, because I'm like, no, I can't do it all. I don't have to sacrifice anything. But in reality, I had to go through a breakdown in order to step back and be like, no, Nejima, Amira was right. I really do need to sacrifice something. And that meant that I had to leave my new role, which was working in the emergency department. Because I remember, I said, I'll be in the toilet, I'll be texting, I'll be emailing. I never had that time. The moment I walked in, I didn't even have time to use the toilet. Literally, I was like, I leave and I'm tired. I couldn't even drive home, And to expect me to do all the stuff that I would do, like usually when I finish my shift, I would be up until 12, just working on content for the next day, preparing stuff, planning. I would sleep. I'll pass out, and then I was getting frustrated because all these plans that I had wasn't coming to life because I didn't have energy and I was getting not motivated. But anyway, so then I had to leave. I had to realize that I need to sacrifice that, because I had to look at my vision again. I was like, what is it that you want? And nursing wasn't going to be it, because I realized I wanted these 2 businesses to succeed, and eventually for it to be my main,
and free you from the career. I guess. Don't ER nurses do like crazy shifts? Like night shift and then morning shift.
Back to back. Wallahi, your body.
But they're lucky. They get the option to sort of select between the 3. No. Like at least they're given an option of 3.
Are you going to disagree with
no,
what do you mean?
No.
Come on now.
No. Look,
which hospital is that?
What I'm saying is the actual hospital operates 24/7.
Yeah.
Right. So whether you're like, you can sort of put in your request. Like for me, like my business operates from 9 to 5.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
They don't do anything other than that. So I'm by default, I'm only given one option.
One option, yeah.
Whereas you guys have the 3 options, whether it's given to you or not.
Yeah.
You still have the other 3 options that you could potentially try and ask for, or opt in for.
But then the thing about shift work as well is you could be rostered for 8 hours tonight and then starting early morning tomorrow as well.
Yeah, literally. I remember I did a 12-hour shift, and then I finished at 7:30, and then I was supposed to be back the next day. Yeah. Well, I was sleeping the whole day. Where was my day off? There really wasn't a day off.
It not
and then I started PM shift at 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
But the hospital, the way it works, especially at that time while I was working, you pretty much, you can request, your what kind of days shift you want. But another day you have to do a certain amount of night shift. Like you have to do 4 shifts of night shift every 2 weeks. And that's, I hate night shift. So I was forced to do night shift. And then you got your random ones where you start, you finish late, like 9:30 you finish. And then you're expected to come back to the hospital at 7 o'clock. And it's like, I wish
It's
someone told me
mentally
that.
draining.
It's
Like
is.
if I did a night shift and I have to be back in the morning.
no, yeah,
it's-
literally the next day.
It's not for me. It's not gonna work for me.
Yeah. So I wish I had your kind of one shift choice.
Well, there's pros and cons of
Yeah.
both.
Both, yeah.
Yeah.
Either way.
And for everybody, the grass is greener on the other side. That's the other thing. Everybody's looking at the opposite. I wish I had that.
I wish
you
I
know?
had that.
And
We've all been there.
yeah, not grateful for what they got. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna wrap up soon, but
Yeah,
I want to
yeah.
ask you two questions. Number one is what's one thing you wish you had known before you began your career?
Oh, about the shift hours. I wish someone told me that, because I always thought that I can pick my shift. Literally, that's what I was thinking. I was like,
Yeah.
I can roster, I can
Set your
set my
week.
hours, I
Yeah.
could do that. But in reality, no. So I wish I knew about the shift hours and how it can be very cruel.
Yeah.
And if I knew that, I would have still done nursing, but I would have gone for a different specialty. Like I could have done like day surgery. They like have the best hours. You start at 9 and finish at 8 p.m. I'm like, I could have done that. I wish I
Yeah.
knew that because I
Yeah.
no one pretty much guided me and told me, the reality of what a nurse does.
What about your business? If you could go back and restart it from scratch again at that particular time, would you do it differently?
No.
You'd still do
I
the
would
same
still
thing.
do it. Yeah, I think with the businesses, it was all self-taught, and I just pretty much had to learn everything myself through experience. And I feel like if I didn't go through those experiences, whatever textbook taught me or whatever pathway that someone showed me, I would have not been the person that I am now, and the experiences that I've learned. I don't think I would have gained that knowledge.
And enjoyed it as much. It's
Yeah.
actually quite fun when you go through something like that. And you learn it yourself. You're like,
Yeah.
everything I know today.
Yeah,
and
I've taught myself, yeah.
And sometimes you turn out to be like the most experienced person in the
Yeah.
industry. Like when you go to a forum or whatnot, and you're like.
Yeah.
Like you're that person where everyone
Yeah.
looks at you and you're like, I taught myself this.
I taught myself
Yeah.
this.
Like, that's
crazy.
It's a
Yeah.
different feeling.
And yeah, I can imagine the little mini celebrations you have when something works out.
Yes. Oh my god.
Or the breakdowns that you
Oh
might have
my-
when things go wrong. But
There
it's
was-
part of the journey.
Yeah. Should I share a little story with your event that we did?
Go for it. Go for it. I want to hear this too.
Are you?
Does my wife know about it?
Your wife knows about it.
Okay. Oh, wait.
Your wife definitely knows. No, well, like it's one of it's funny. So there was a flower wall that the boys helped us build.
Yeah.
Amir, even you were there. You guys were there. They helped us build the flower wall.
Yeah.
The structure of it. They were like, we needed these like pretty much the back for it to stand. So, and it was for your wedding. And then the day of the wedding came,
Yeah.
and we were transporting everything to the venue.
Yeah.
And I'm driving on the middle of the highway, I think it was Mission Freeway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm driving there, rushing to get to the venue 4 hours before the event is starting.
Yeah.
I get a call from Furqana, who was following behind me. So I'm driving the trailer,
Yeah.
and she goes, Nejima, pull over. And I'm like, what do you mean pull over? I don't have time. She's like, just pull over. I'm like, what happened? She's like, just pull over, because she was worried that I was going to react. I'm like, stupid girl. I'm like, okay. So I go to the emergency lane. I pull over. She goes, the flower wall it's on the highway.
Oh.
It's fell.
What? How do I not know about this till now? What? Gone?
Oh my god, it fell from the trailer, like gone on the highway.
Was the trailer not secure? That's
What do you do? What do you do in a situation like that?
Oh my god.
Wow.
I'm like, what do you mean? I'm just like, and I look at the trailer, it's not there, it's gone. And I'm like, okay, let me drive back. So I'm going back, trying to find the
But you're on
flower
the
wall.
opposite side.
Yeah, so I went to the other side.
Yeah.
So I took the next exit, went back to the other side, and then came back to that
Okay,
side.
Yeah.
The firewall was gone. Someone took it.
What?
within that small time frame. Someone
Within that
took it.
Wallah, it was literally within 4 minutes, because she was behind me. The moment she realized it was gone, because usually what happens that when I'm driving the trailer, she'll drive behind me, in case something happens, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know, I will always do that. So it took 4 minutes for me to pull over, for her to tell me what happened, and for me to go back on
And it
that
was
road.
gone.
And it was gone. Someone took it. So I'm like, what the hell am I gonna do now?
Wow.
The wedding started in 4 minutes. It's a weekend. Where can I get a flower wall from? Even if I had to hire up for someone else. So, and I'm like, oh my God. So anyways, I pretty much cried. I'm like, crap. I'm like, what do I do? And then I remember just making something up. I had all these curtains, all this fabric, white fabric and fairy lights. So I just put something together last minute. And when, the girls showed me, asked me, she was like, wow, this is so beautiful. Like, I love this. Like, everybody was complimenting for that backdrop.
And they don't know what happened.
And they don't know.
This is plan B. Yeah, they don't know this is plan B. Yeah.
They don't even know this is plan B. Like, to this day, it's the most popular backdrop.
Now we all know, but the thing is like, now, and I'm pretty sure my wife will probably feel bad too now that when she found out, but now I feel so bad because like that when I'm just, getting pampered, getting ready, and here we're going through all of this.
Wallahi, I learned so much that day. I learned there's actually emergency response people that go on the highway that remove the stuff.
Yeah.
Like I learned all these processes that I didn't even know about. Like they usually drive past. Every time I see the car, I'm like, wow, I know who you are. I know what your job is to remove objects from the highway, not to do it yourself. So I learned a lot that day.
Wow.
So that's the breakdowns that really happen that people don't know about. They see the glitter and the glam, but don't know.
And people can tell you about this, but unless you go through it yourself, it doesn't sit the same.
No, it won't. Like, so now every time we're transporting something, I make sure it's 100% secured.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the second question I think is sort of similar, but this is going a little bit further back.
Yeah.
16, 17 years old, yourself.
Oh God.
What would you tell her now?
Oh my God, 16. What the hell was I doing when I was 16?
16, 17. That's what, the last 2 years of high school?
Yeah, I think I think I would tell myself to wallahi just relax and be 16 and 17. I think I was forced to grow up really fast, and I would have just told myself relax and chill because I was trying to enjoy being 16 and make mistakes and just live life freely because I was way too mature back then. Like I didn't play games, I wouldn't like do any activities. It was like just home and education, that was it. And I think so I would tell myself, Nejima, relax, live a little.
I would tell myself the same thing, but for different reasons.
For different reasons.
Yeah. See,
what were you doing when you were 16?
No, when I was 16. No, when I was 16 and 17.
Was he in the military?
No, when I was 16 and 17.
Yeah.
I always used to want to get to that point, like 25 to 30, where it's like.
Oh, you wanted to get older.
Yeah, I was like, I want to get to that stage where I'm independent, living on my own, got my own house, do what I want,
Yeah.
But you don't see all the other added pressure with being an adult. Now I'm like, take me back to 16.
Take me back to 16.
So for different reasons, I'll tell myself, enjoy the process. Yeah. Enjoy those stress-free years. Like when we were 16, 17, we were in high school, what was our biggest worry? What am I going to take to lunch? Am I going to be on the soccer team at lunch? Am I going to get jumped outside my class? Like for our school, for those that know.
What school did you?
Yeah, I see. It's totally different.
My God.
But yeah, like that was your biggest stress, right? And then now it's like, like bills, future aspirations, kids, family, all the adult life, and so like anybody that I get to, that I see that is sort of, either not enjoying being a teenager or that wants to get out of it too quick, I'm like,
relax.
Like it's different from when your dad tells you, because like you're like, I can't relate. I'm like, it's only been like 10 years when I was your age. Yeah. It's still fresh. Like enjoy it because it flies like this. I remember when I was 21. That was 2013, 14-ish. That's when I moved to Sydney. Yeah.
You would live
like that's I've known you now for 6 years.
What?
6 years.
You guys knew each other when you were in Sydney?
6 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
I know him from Sydney.
I met him in Sydney. Yeah. And a little funny story. We're sitting down with all the boys. I rock up. Yeah. Omar Hassan sitting like this, but on my right. Yeah. And we're talking. It's all Somali boys. Yeah. And I'm talking full Somali because I'm just thinking it's all the boys.
Yeah.
And I'm Omar Hassan. And
a standard procedure for me. I just sit and listen. Bro.
No, but the thing is, he knew where the conversation was going. Yeah. So I think I asked him a question, which was a yes or no, and like he answered correctly. So in my head, I'm like, yeah. So then he gets up to go buy a drink, and the other boys are like, yo, you know, he's not Somali. I said, wallahi, no. I refused until I asked him, and he says, no, I'm not Somali.
Because you know when Somalis talk, 80% of their language is through the body and the hands.
Yeah,
you know? So I'm like, and they threw a few English words in there, you know, key English words too.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I can guess what he's basically saying.
Yeah,
you know?
wow.
And since then, it's been 6 years. So it hasn't felt like 6 years though.
Yeah,
It
no.
hasn't felt like
You
6
guys
years.
go way back.
So
Way
my
back.
advice to them is enjoy being
Enjoy
a
being
teenager.
16.
Enjoy the stress-free days.
Absolutely.
You will never get those days back.
Yeah.
Especially like I would go way back when you're a kid and your parents would tell you take a nap during the day. I would pay anybody to let me sleep during the day right now. You know, especially and back then we all used to hate it.
Yeah.
But I think that concludes us today for a very, very interesting and informative conversation with a lot of laughs. Thank you very much for joining us, Nejima, and sharing your experiences in your careers and your business. May Allah make your career and your business aspirations come true.
Ameen.
And may He bless you on your journey. And may He bless anybody and ease the journey of anybody that wants to follow in your footsteps, inshallah. Anybody that wants to ask Nejima any further questions, we'll put down her Instagram details along with the episode, inshallah, and on our Instagram page. Anything else from you guys before we close up?
Just want to say thank you for having me, and I'm really glad you guys have started this platform, and hopefully, you know, there's more discussions, more females coming on your
Inshallah.
show,
Absolutely.
you know, your podcast, and then, I just wanted to say you guys are doing a really good job.
Thank you
in
very much.
creating this platform.
Jazakallah khair. That concludes us for the day. Inshallah, catch you guys next week with next week's episode.